Okay, so tonight what I want to do is here's the bottle, the simple or simpler bottle that we modeled last time, or at least outside. Tonight what I want to go over is how to add handles. Simple ways of adding handles. And we can do that with a manner of choices, but tonight what I want to go over is we have the loft, sweep, and rail tool. These are very similar, at least from one perspective, and then they are vastly different in others. Now, first off, just to discuss the loft, yes, you can use this same tool that I used to create this bottle form, or you have with your own. You can do both with the loft tool because you're still making at least two sketches, so two profiles, and instead of just stacking those sketches themselves vertically, you can actually use an additional line that will become your profile, and it will stretch, or rather, it will still draw a transition between those two profiles, but along that line. I'll show you how that works. So first, let's flip over and start a new project here. First things first, let's save this here. Example, rail, sweep, loft. Okay, so where do you find these tools? Under Create, you have under your general extrude and revolve, we have sweep, loft. Sorry, brain fart. Where are you? Oh, pipe. My apologies. I get mixed up sometimes. It's not rail. In Fusion, it is a pipe tool. Makes sense, but also kind of not. All right. So these are all very similar in that they all require a path, a drawing. One kind of line. It could be a straight line. It could be an arc. It could be a fit point spline. Anything, basically, any shape you make within the sketch area can become your profile, or can become your path. The difference being that a pipe tool generates a shape around that line automatically. And you have a selection between round, square, or triangle, and hollow of either of those options. Other option is the sweep. It's the same tool, only instead of it automatically generating a profile, you draw your own profile. So maybe I want it to be an oval, maybe I want it to be a filleted or a rectangle with fillets, maybe I want it to be a weird amorphous blob. It will then take that sketch and basically extrude it along the length of that path. So it's one profile. From there, the other option is loft. Granted, we learned a bit about loft in the last time. Only this time we're going to apply that with a path. So it's still now two profiles. Only when I apply that to a path, that means I have one profile, one sketch on one end of the line, the other profile, the other sketch on the other end of the line. Between those two lines is still a loft, a transition shape between those two profiles, but it's then basically extruded or whatever, however you want to imagine it, along that path. So those are the real differences. I'll show you how to actually make use of them. So first, let's make some sketches. Rather, first, let me set out some examples. All right. Pipe. Oops, I forgot to disconnect that. So I'm just going to set some examples out so y'all can look. Nope, not external. Pipe. Sweep. And all right, so let's start with the pipe. With any of these, it's going to require at least two sketches. So first, start here, and I'll start on the XZ plane, so the front. So first, what I want to draw, and it just means first I want to draw. You could either draw your profiles first or your path first, but those two do need to be on two separate sketches. Makes it easier for the computer to compute. So first I'll start with a fit point spline. Doesn't really matter where I'm doing this. For right now, I'm going to pretend I'm going to use what is here Z-axis, although it's showing up as green, that's always confusing. I'm just going to draw out and around. So could just be kind of blah, 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 and we'll stop it out that way. F6 to resize. So same deal. You know, if I need to adjust any of these, if I want to mess with the handlebars, you know the standard drill. Okay, finish sketch. So using the pipe tool, I only need a path, my line. Go to create, go to pipe. I select that path, and let me use the home button so I can get a 3/4 angle here. From here, I can generate a thickness. Now, this is still working off of the offset principle, meaning that it will only stretch so far until I get an error message. Which, let me move the zoom window out of the way. It's just too big for this profile. That's all that means. Because like when we're using the offset tool in drawing and sketching, you hit a certain point and it starts really throwing your drawing off. Same thing here, because it's generating that offset in 180 degrees. It's making it three-dimensional. So obviously somewhere around there. 20 was, yeah, that's fine. Let's say 20 millimeters. Mighty. So I can still use my arrow to drag out the size, or I can type it in numerically. If I look at my toolbox, sorry, let's go over the detail, or let's go over what these mean. First off is distance. What that means is how long or how much of that path, of that drawing, of that sketch, do I want to actually generate a pipe around? It goes from 0 to 1. So if I only wanted half of it, 0.5, it's going to generate it around half the size, or half the length. I can use the arrow to drag down the length, same diff. But let's just go to a full 1. All the length. I have a selection box. I can go with triangular, square, or, circular, square, or triangular. Triangle makes a big issue because it's going to be self-intersecting. So that means that it is too much for that drawing. If I narrow it down a bit, looks like 17 or so is about the edge. But you can see how that generates all around it. Why would I need a triangle? Triangles are really helpful for using as a cutting object. So if I wanted to slice into something, so say I draw something rounded or something, and I use my line projection, my project tool, and instead of copying the edge of that bottle onto another sketch, I can project this sketch onto that, generate a pipe along that path, maybe a triangular pipe, and use that instead to cut into the body, and I can cut a groove into the side of that. Neat tool. And then your standards, operation, new tool body, blah, 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 blah. You also can generate this hollow. So then you would have a second dimension. If I wanted a hollow triangle, or for that matter, circle, so it is, instead of a solid pipe, just round, it's an actual pipe. And from that, you're defining the wall thickness. So this outer thickness is 17 millimeters. So it's a wall thickness of 2 millimeters. So the internal diameter is going to be 13 millimeters. Brain fart for a second. But there you go. That's how you use the pipe tool. Really handy. Also, really handy if you were trying to design, say, like furniture or something, or a chair. Maybe I want to actually draw up a leg of a chair or something. And let me start a new sketch. Same deal. We'll go to the side. I'll draw it out here. And let's just say, I'm going to do kind of a quick H-frame chair here. Yeah, line. Come on, follow. Why is the line tool jamming? That happens sometimes where the line tool will get stuck and won't go very far for some reason. Yeah, we'll say there, and then we'll say to that length. Cool. So, painfully simple chair. Where are you? And we'll go with square. I can't always select the same ones, and we'll leave it as solid. But let's just say that is a 10 millimeter. Oops. So there we are. Repeat the pipe. Unhide my sketch because it does that. The other one. And instead of letting it cut, I will join. Still using the pipe tool, same thickness, 10 millimeter. Bam. Now I've quickly generated a design for half of a really uncomfortable chair. But it's really helpful for building these any kind of tubular or square frame designs. All right, so I'll save there. Pipe tool. Okay. So let's close all that, hide it. Let's go over to sweep. So under the create drop down, next one is sweep. Sweep is basically the same thing, only like it says here, it sweeps a sketch profile down that path. So instead of it automatically generating that profile, you define the profile. So you'll need two sketches here. So once again, let's start one sketch, same deal, side. I'll again do some kind of a fit point spline, neato burrito, finish sketch. Next sketch, I need to do perpendicular to that line. And let's draw up there. Important thing here is it's on that plane, but I really need it to be actually connected to that end. It is important, not just that the sketch is perpendicular and somewhere on the plane, it needs to be at the end of that sketch. So with this one, we'll use an oval on that plane, but snap to that last point. So it basically just generated a construction plane based off of that point. So yes, I could have generated a construction plane all the way over, and I could have either measured or snapped to that, but I was already going to work on, in this case, it was the YZ axis, so back and up. But because I selected that end vertex, it generated a plane right there, and now I'm just drawing outward from there. So let's do that. Let's say, I don't know, 38, sure, by something, something there. All right. Now, in this case, it's pretty close. I'll finish sketch. Let me go to the front view. Well, what if this was drastically different? Meaning like this point here, what if that were way up there? And now my sketch is, yes, it's kind of on that plane, but it's at a weird angle. Well, let's go over that. So go to create. Let's go to sweep. First selection is the profile. There. Next selection is the path. There. Same deal. So it generates along the length, same aspects, distance. If I put in 0.5, it's only half the length. Let's go to full one. You got a couple of neat options here. Taper angle means you can create a path and then taper it actually down or up or down. So along that path, whatever squiggly thing you got going, it's a 1 degree angle, but the longer it goes, the wider it gets. You understand math. Same thing is pretty cool is you can actually put in a twist. So along that, let's do a 180 twist. That was too much for it. I'll turn off the I'll turn off the taper, see what that does. Nope, much too much. All right, fine. Let's try 90 degrees. Still nothing? All right, apparently I confused the crap out of it. And let's try, there we are. All right, so if orientation, that just changes how it, again, orients it. Sometimes it's gonna mess it up. I would just leave that as perpendicular. And then of course you have other options along path surface, but for this case, we're just gonna use along the single path. Now you see what happens here. It kind of stretches that profile. So let's hit OK. And what I want to do is I'm going to step back, or rather I'm just going to edit that sketch here. Well, no, I can't do it that way. Let's step back before I made the sweep and unhide the sketches. And let me go in and move tool, sketch objects, just that one. Oops. Not what I meant. I wanted to select just that. Go to front, and I want to pivot from the center there. And let's try to angle this as perpendicular as I can. So as I can, doesn't have to be perfect. Select OK, snap back to current. Now that it's changed the profile. You got a weird bend here, just like when you bend a pool noodle too much. So you get that weird, so it's definitely generating something weird there. That would, if I was designing this for like actual use, yeah, you might want to adjust that. So let's edit that sketch. Now let's bring that profile down a bit, a little less wonky. Finish sketch. Well, now I got the same problem, and I need to go back and edit that sketch again. Move sketch objects, and let's rotate that again. Set pivot right in the middle. And well, that's going to cause problems because it's now connecting. So cancel that. What has happened here? I pressed too many things. So basically with this, if you want to keep readjusting stuff, that's fine. But one of the issues I run into is it's best to then move your history slider back before the sweep. Now I can move that end sketch and bring it back in line. Finish sketch. Now bring your history slider back to current, recalculates. Now I've gotten rid of that weird pinch, that sort. So just some stuff that I have found as a way to work around if it generates some weird things. So there you go. That's how to use a sweep. Save. Sweep tool. All right. Last one. Loft. Let's switch over. Hide the sweep. Now, as you have all found, well, a loft requires two profiles. And in this case, we're also adding the sweep. So in this case, I'm going to draw on here, and this is a lead in to one of the projects we're going to do later. I'm going to make a half of a ring, or I'll show you how to make a full one. So you can either start with the size or the profiles. So with this one, just because it doesn't really matter, I'm going to start with the profiles. So with this, I'm going to take a center point rectangle, and we'll do that smack in the middle. And let's see here. We'll make that, sure, 45 by, I don't know, 5. Sure, super thin. Weird, thin. Down here, I will make let's go with an oval again, or ellipse. There we are. So let's do something like 18 by 2. Sure. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm just throwing some numbers out here. Super thin. Finish sketch. All right. Now I want to rotate 90 degrees and do a sketch on the front plane. Now, because I'm making a circle with this loft, I'm going to use the circle tool, but I want to go between those two profiles. So I'm going to go to sketch, circle, and I'm going to use a 2-point circle. And now I'm going to use the center of both of those. So with this one, it is the origin point. Sometimes it gets a little wonky to select. There we are. And go down, down, down. Or I zoom out, it's easier to grab. The center of that ellipse. Whoop, there we go. All right, that's it. I just need that. I just need a circle for the path. Select OK. There we're good. All right, so I have my what will become my path profile and my 2 profiles for start and stop for my loft. So I'll go to Create, Loft. First, you select the profiles. Now, you will probably get an error message here. So I'm going to select the first profile because it's trying to, and I haven't defined that it needs a center line yet. Second profile, and it's going to automatically try to draw a line between those. Yep. So it brought up an error. That's because it's trying to draw a loft between those, but instead of those lofts being parallel to one another, or they are parallel, just they're facing the same way instead of facing one another. So switch over down between your selection sections here. You have a guide type, select center line. Now I select that path. Whoop. Now it will draw a loft in a sweeping arc because of the circle between those two profiles. Select OK. Now I have what will become, in this case, half of a ring. If I wanted to mirror this to make the other half, mirror object, sorry, bodies, select there, mirror plane, bring up my plane, and I'll leave and then I would join it, but in this case, I'm just gonna leave it as two separate bodies, and you can create a mirror of one another. Okay, that's how you could create, in this case, a ring, but that's how you can create a two-profiled handle, basically, or a loft in a not straight direction. So super useful, different way of using the loft tool. So let's save there. Not left, loft tool. That dang spelling. It's hard. So that's it. So you have a selection of 3 different ways you can create handles for this. Any one way, whatever you want. But that's a super simple way of using those 3 different types of tools. So let's actually put that to use. So let's switch back over to the bottle. And I want to create a handle here. As I said, if your bottle that you're using as an example does not have a handle, that's fine. Generate one. It's more so that we're just learning how to use those commands to create a feature on here. So first things first, I want to create a profile. My excuse me, or not profile, my path. So whatever my thing's going to look like. So create sketch. Oops, sorry, cancel. Make sure to activate the bottle because that's what it's going to be on. So working on there, create sketch, and I'm working on, well, this is square, so it really doesn't matter what side, but working on the front so it could be one side or the other. All right, so let's make a line. So I'm going to start my line somewhere where it seems almost reasonable. I'm going to start, well, I want to try to snap it to the edge there. I can still do that. It's snapping there, but it's not really giving me a very good line. This is where what I could do, hit escape, and use the project tool. So you press P, or again, go to create, oops. Come on, create. Project is down here at the bottom, just using project. And I'm just going to select the body here. Instead of features, I want the body. Select there, hit OK. Now, if I go to hide that body, again, now I have a profile sketch of that outer profile. But because I made this as a loft, I didn't actually have a defined edge there. So now I have an actual edge I can work from. Do you have to do it this way? No. Just showing you a way you can work. All right. Now I have an actual edge that my cursor will actually snap to. Goes from plus to crosshair. Snap somewhere out there. Let's make a fancy handle. I would like it to be somewhat reasonable, so I'm going to have it connect, but I'm always a fan of those ones that kind of sweep back outward. So going to just draw that back out there. All right. Is that kind of gangly? Yeah, a little bit. Somewhat amphora-like, but also ridiculously oversized, but you get the idea. All right, so finish sketch, and it hit everything. You jerk. That edit. All right. So first off, unhide body, because I'm going to do that. So I could use this and create just a pipe tool. So go to pipe, go to create, pipe, select there. Let's leave it at circular, and I don't know, 15. That's so small. Maybe it's running into a problem. Yep, looks like I can only go somewhere in between there. So make it a little bit bigger, but you see some problems here. One, I'm limited to only a circle. then, and frankly, that would be an uncomfortable handle. So let's use either pipe or let's use either sweep or loft. So if I want to do that, go back, hide this body just so I can not confuse myself so much. And let's start another sketch. It's going to be on the perpendicular plane. So the the YZ plane. And again, if I want to use any generated design, that's fine. In this case, I do want to use an ellipse again, but remember how I can just click, instead of actually working directly on the origin plane, if I select one of the end vertices, it'll automatically generate a plane on or aligned to that vertex. So great, that's exactly what I want. Still keeping on that same XY plane, just project it away. And let's make this a little bit more hand friendly. So 18 by, I don't know, 10? Sure. Okay. And just looking at it, yeah, I might have to tweak that, but that might be okay. So let's finish. All right, that's one profile. Go to create, sweep, select my profile, the ellipse, select my path, line. Now it is a much nicer looking thing. Now, when I unhide the bottle body, you're going to notice a couple of problems. One, it automatically switches over to cut. I don't want to cut. I still want that to join. Or I can do new body and then join it afterwards. The other thing is, because of the nature of how sweep and loft function, and pipe as well, if I look here, I'm left with this weird gap. That is where I can do a couple of things. Well, for one, let me finish this. So I'm going to leave this separated. I'm not going to join these two, the handle and the bottle together just yet. So I'm going to leave it as a new body. Click OK. So for one, as we saw before, I can step back in history. Let me move my controls here. Before I created the sweep, unhide the sketches again because it does that. Of course, now I've got this slew of sketches. There you go, there you go. Okay, so let's move. I want that one. And I'm just going to rotate this a little bit so it's a bit more perpendicular to the first section of that of my sweep path. So select OK. Snap back to current. Let me zoom out, come up. All right, that fixed that upper bit a little bit. The other option is, of course, actually moving the profile here. So this is why I tell you it is good to use the, let me hide the body again. And actually I should label these so I can actually see what I'm doing. Bottle and handle. That makes slightly more sense. Hide the bottle. So now, because I used that project tool to copy the outline of the bottle, I can see where the actual edge of the bottle is instead of having to estimate that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the sweep or the profile itself, edit sketch, and I want this to actually move. Well, okay, now this is a drawback. I use that profile, but because I snapped the end of my line, which is my path, connected to that profile, now it doesn't want to move away from it. It'll move up and down, but it doesn't want to move away from it. So to get over there, what I need to do is right-click on that button or on that vertex and select Delete Coincident. Now I should be able to move that freely. There we are. So what I need to do, and what that meant is it just no longer is linked. It deleted the information that linked that vertex of that line to my profile sketch. So now I drug it inside the bottle pack, or the end of it inside what will be the perimeter of the bottle. So finish sketch. Now when I zoom in and unhide the bottle body, it is actually inside the wall of the body. Perfect. Because when I fuse these, when I join these together, now I'll have that section there. Now, I might run into a problem also because inside the bottle is, let me see if I can see it from here. I'll hide the cap. you can sometimes be left with what's called an artifact, just in the leftover chunk. So yeah, I can't really see it because of how this is generating, but you can see the inside wall of the bottle here, this dotted line. Might be okay. Looks like the inside of my bottle, or the end of my handle, is within the walls of the bottle, so it'll just join to that. But if it were slightly longer, it might leave like a weird projection, and I can delete that, and I can delete those faces later, but I'll show you that. But okay, that works there. How about down here? You got that line? That might cause problems also. We'll figure that out. But all right, that looks pretty good. I was able to move the path inside the bottle, so I didn't get that weird cut. All right, so let's go ahead and use join now. So let's combine the parts, select the main body, tool body now is the handle. And if you want, you can kick this out to a new component and or keep the tools, which will still keep copies of the original. So if you wanted to tweak that, play with it, whatever. But in this case, I'm going to just hit OK. It will connect those two. Actually, you know what? I do want, oops. Let me right click that, edit feature. I do like keeping the tools just because it's handy to have them. So now I can hide the handle, but it's still there. So I do still have a copy of the handle if I want to alter it or do anything else, but there we go. So the bottle, we're good. Bam. Okay, so now I have a handle, extra fancy. Now I'm going to add some fillets so that it fuses a little bit nicer. So visual style back to visible, so it's slightly less confusing here. So let's go up, add some fillets. I'm going to select around the handle, and let's play with this. I'll use the slider, see how far I can push this until the computer freaks out on me. So obviously I can make this obscenely large, but it does in fact make for a pretty nice fusion onto the bottle. All right, not bad. Click OK. Want to do the same, so I can right click, repeat fillet, select that one, and we'll do something similar-ish. I don't think it needs to be quite as excessive. Maybe 2. That seems reasonable. Maybe 1. Slightly smaller. I like the little bump out there. Okay, and then for the last bit, well, I would like to round this thing out so it's not just a flat stump. I can use the fillet again. I can select that whole face or the edge. Let's try the face, see what happens. The slider gets extra weird, so let's say 2, 2.5. Got extra weird. Let's try just the corner. Still problems. 2.2. Trying to get close without it erroring out. Ultimately, it's because I used an ellipse instead of a circle. It gets weird. There we are. So it looks like 2.5 or 2.4 is as far as I could push that. I could always make alterations to this, or I could just alter the sketch itself. Select OK. And there we are. And that's an easy way to do that. If I wanted to use a loft, I would have drawn profiles at either end. Or if I decide, you know what, I like this, but I would like a change in the size. I'm going to go back to the, back to the sweep, edit feature, and I'm going to add a taper to it. So let's say 1 degree. Maybe half a degree. All right, that's slightly more reasonable. So because I started my my sweep from the bottom end, I was able to use a positive number. If I'd started the sweep from the other end, I'd just use a negative number. You get the idea. So it just grows the longer it goes along a path. Select OK. It's going to recalculate. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. That fillet got scrambled. So let's edit that feature. Yes, still that 1, but I have to dial that way back. So let's start at like 5. 8. 8's too much now. 7 it is. There we are. Select OK. All right. So I can zoom out. Zoom time. Let's collapse some of this stuff so it's slightly less confusing to look at. And I hide all the sketches, unhide the cap, reactivate the whole project. And now I have a sassy hand on the hip handle. But just a simple way to generate a handle. Obviously, you can do whatever you like. You could even go so much as to, let me just hide this real quick. Or sorry, not hide, save. Save, that one's more important. Handle done. You could even go so far as to make, if we want to make it extra simple, let's go to create. You have other solids. You could create a torus, a donut. Go to the front, just on the front plane, and I could create a, let's say, I don't know, 80 millimeters, and then I would like it to be, sure, no, I wanted it 80, and then my diameter, yeah, 25 maybe. Nice thick donut. Donuts. Let's make that slightly smaller. Donut. Whoops, I should have had that on the other. I should have had that on the other component. That's okay. Open the bodies. Never fails. And I can just drag and drop that over there. Oop, there we go. Now it's on the other one. Success. And I can move this into position. Use the move tool so that it intersects the bottle somewhere. Again, this is very excessive of a handle. I could click OK. And then I could just use the join tool for that. So operation join, target body, love that one. Tool body, love that one. Click OK, bam, donut handle. Go in, add my fillet because I want a fillet donut or fillet of donut. You're all allowed to just close your books and just walk out if I make too many bad puns. Click OK. And now I have just a horrifying abomination of handles on my bottle. So there you go. And later in the semester, I'll show you how to add sprinkles to your donut handle. All right, so you have a variety of options for creating handles. Simple being pipe, intermediate sweep, loft being the more complex. And of course, they're all as complex as you make your sweeps or profiles. Choose however you like, but those are some very simple ways of doing it. And again, I would, yes, technically you could use the torus to make an extremely painfully simple donut handle, but I would like you to use one of these selections to create your handle simply because it's a, well, that's the assignment, but you can see how you can also make a very, very, very simple handle with a pre-made solid form. So good luck with it, and I'll help wherever I can.